Front and Center. A focus on important and significant developments affecting the lives of Filipinos, not only in the Philippines, but also those living and working around the world. Join us in Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Good morning to all of our listeners here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Welcome to another edition of Front and Center, where we put very significant issues affecting our country, the Philippines, as our program title says, Front and Center. On behalf of our colleague Jerome Toledo, I'm your host for today, Steph Vicente, joining you all for more or less than 30 minutes worth of talk discussing important matters with our government officials, people from the private sector, or even members of the academe. As seen through our video live streaming, you may watch and listen to Front and Center through our Facebook page. Just search Radyo Pilipinas World Service. The same goes for our official YouTube channel. Meanwhile, we also have an audio live streaming thanks to the Evox PBS receiver app. You may download the said mobile application via Google Play Store if you are using an Android phone or via App Store if you are using an iPhone. We are also back on shortwave radio starting last December 2025. As Front and Center is part of our English service, which airs from 10 o'clock to 11:30 in the morning, that's Philippine Standard Time, you may listen to us via the following shortwave frequencies. I think we just have changes with in regards to our shortwave frequency. So here they are: 15.640 megahertz, 17.750 megahertz, and 21.720 megahertz. For the first part of today's edition of Front and Center, we will talk about a timely and widely discussed issue involving commuter safety and accountability in public transport. A recent incident involving Choi Soo Bin, leader of K-pop group TXT, has gone viral after he shared his alleged experience of being overcharged by a taxi driver during his visit in Cebu. The case has since prompted swift action from the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, which issued a show cause order against the operator involved and imposed a preventive suspension on the taxi unit. Authorities cited serious violations, including overcharging and the alleged non-use of the taxi meter, issues that directly affect not only tourists but everyday Filipino commuters. This controversy raises important questions about passenger rights, regulatory enforcement, and the protection of commuters against abusive practices. It also highlights the broader impact of such incidents on the country's image in the international community. To help us better understand the legal implications and what commuters can do in similar situations, we are joined today via phone patch by Lawyers for Commuter Safety and Protection, or LCSP President, Attorney Ariel Inton, to discuss how laws protect passengers and what reforms may be needed to ensure safer, fairer public transportation for all. Attorney Inton, welcome to Front and Center. This is Steph Vicente again of Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Good morning, Ma'am Steph. Good morning to our followers of your program.
Thank you very much, Attorney Inton, for joining us here in the program. So, Attorney Inton, what is your initial reaction to the alleged taxi overcharging incident involving an actual K-pop idol in Cebu?
Well, overcharging of passengers have been with us ever since. It so happened that the victim here is a well-known pop artist from another country, from South Korea, and have a huge following, especially from the Gen Z generation.
Yes.
So it went viral, so it really put the country into a bad light. And so, fortunately, the LTFRB acted immediately and penalize, no, preventively the taxi driver. And I don't know about LTO, but perhaps LTO also did its share of suspending at least the driver's license of the taxi driver. So our initial reaction there is, uh, until now it has been with us. But there are netizens. No, we of
Mm.
course read the comments in the social media, and some netizens said, bakit di pa na lang nating patawarin to dahil ano, crisis tayo, something like that.
Mm.
But of course, we understand the plight of our transport sector, that it's really very difficult really to survive. That is why a lot of drivers, public transport drivers, are no longer flying the route because talo eh, no? They cannot cope up with the rising price of diesel. Diesel. We understand that, but it will not justify sa a an act like that, because it violates a lot of franchise policies. Number one, overcharging of passengers. Number two, non-use of the meter. Number three, when you overcharge, you transact. Mean to say there is a contracting of passenger, and that is also a franchise violation. But to top it all, it really put the country into a bad light, considering the status of the
Yes.
victim as a K-pop idol who have millions of followers, not only in the country but elsewhere in the world.
Yes. And since you have mentioned the legal implications regarding this, how common are complaints involving overcharging and non-use of taximeters in the Philippines?
Okay, so we are not, of course, concluding that all taxi drivers are doing this. Now, I myself, I take the taxi once or twice a week, and uh, fortunately, the drivers that I rode are not overcharging or uh, asking extra fare. I do not know. Perhaps they know me or what, but let let us say that this is prevalent, especially when demand for transport is high.
Hmm.
It is more. It is a lot. It is common during Christmas season, holidays, rush hour. In other words, parang they take advantage of the situation, and
Mm.
that is really very that should not be tolerated. That should not be tolerated. So uh, I hope that this taxi driver that was involved lately with the K-pop idol will realize that uh, what he did, no, is not only simply overcharging a passenger, but putting the country into a bad light that can affect our uh, the tourism, the tourism of the country, because a lot of tourists, they take taxi as a mode of transportation when they are here in the Philippines.
Mm-mm. Now, Attorney Inton, what rights do commuters, both locals and foreign visitors, have when they encounter situations like this?
Well, whether they are locals or foreign, they can, of course, file a complaint with the LTFRB. No? We just have to be, uh, we just have to be specific about the jurisdiction of LTFRB. The LTFRB, when you file a case there, it's not a court. No?
Mm.
It is. It also does not have authority to issue license or authority driver's license. That is for the LTO to do. But the LTFRB, its jurisdiction is uh, the franchise of public utility vehicle. That is why when you make when there is a overcharging or any franchise violation committed by the driver, uh, it also affect the operator. Now, why is that? Even if the operator is not the driver, because in the Philippines, the supervision and control of the drivers are solely in the hands of the operator. So he will ultimately be liable if it will not. He cannot show that uh, he made a lot of effort.
It seems that we're being slightly interrupted in the call. Let's call again Attorney Inton, because this is very important information, not just to local but also foreign nationals who might be interested in this topic. We are slightly interrupted. Attorney Inton, go ahead.
Yes, yes. Okay. So the operator has to show, because the LTFRB will issue a show cause order uh, directing the operator to show cause why its franchise will not be suspended or revoked, no, because of the wrongdoing of the driver. Now, so that's one of the option of the passenger. And also, you can go to LTO and complain the driver, because if the driver overcharge you, they have a term for it. Now, that's he is referred to as an improper driver, and since driving or having a driver's license is a privilege in the country, LTO can also suspend that. So those are the options. But we are aware that very seldom do passengers have to go out of their way, to to
Mm.
file a formal complaint. Just like what happened with the K-pop idol, he did not make a complaint. What he did was to post it in social media. So a lot of victims, yun na ginagawa. They post it in social media because uh, if they file a complaint, abala sa kanila. Di ba?
Mm.
So that's the problem. Uh, uh, the good thing is LTFRB and even LTO, they monitor social media. No? And when incidents like this will reach their office, motu proprio, on its own, they act immediately. No? So that is the option of the victim of the this kind of taxi drivers. So let's say not only taxi drivers, but public transport drivers, because it's really unfair if we just specifically uh, uh, specifically refer them as taxi drivers, because even if they are not taxi drivers like other denomination, still the violation can happen.
Mm. Although you have just said that the LTFRB and to some extent the LTO monitor social media in case there are complaints about public transportation, from the perspective of LCSP, do you think that current penalties imposed by both government agencies are strong enough to deter such violations?
Okay, when I was with the board of LTFRB, I was a board member of LTFRB, uh, 2014 to 2016.
Mm.
So there was a review of the penalties, and there is before I came in, there is what we call the Joint Administrative Order 2014-01 of the LTO, LTFRB, and the OTC, the OTR now, no? Increasing some penalties, no? Violations like traffic violations or franchise violations. So it has already been increased, but eh, let's say we could not say that the high penalty, the amount, is an effective deterrent. Perhaps it may be a deterrent, but not really a an effective deterrent that can uh, really eradicate franchise violations such as overcharging or contracting of passengers. Mukhang that's not the only deterrent that we should think of. So, uh, as LCSP, as lawyers, we see a illegal remedy, but it should be, the victim has really to go out of their way to file the case, and because if there is a violation of the Public Service Act, there is a Public Service Act na yung mga ganitong violation, it's a violation of the Public Service Act, they can be criminally held liable. But this crime, if you will file a criminal case, it's not with LTO or LTFRB. You file this with the prosecutor's office. Now, formally charging a taxi driver of a violation of the Public Service Act. Ilan yung gagawa nun? Diba? So, but that's an option. Perhaps what we can suggest is the Department of Justice can look into this and coordinate with LTFRB, LTO, and the OTR to assist passengers in filing not only administrative cases but also criminal cases. Para I think yun, deterrent yun, because if it's a criminal case, there is imprisonment. No? So yun, ang tingin namin it would be an effective deterrent. Because nowadays, if a taxi driver, usually when we talk to taxi drivers or we hear complaints of passengers, ang sinasabi daw ng taxi driver, edi magsumbong ka. Yung the complaint, sige, why? Because they know the chances are the passenger will not do it. Di ba? O, kaya, marami pa rin nag-overcharge. And of course, let's face it, mahirap ngayon ang biyahe. There is really, we are in a crisis, and per liter, the price per liter of diesel is already almost 130 or 140 per liter. So you just can imagine if before 1 liter can make you reach about 2 kilometers at 60 pesos per liter. Now you have to spend 140 pesos just to cover 2 kilometers. So it's almost multiplied by 3. So that's what is happening on the ground. Ngayon, when drivers will say, paano naman kami? Paano kayo mabuhay? So, there are a lot of passengers who understand their plight. They really give tip voluntarily. In other words, the drivers need not ask or demand for extra fare. The passengers knows the problem and voluntarily will give a tip to the driver.
And now, since we're talking about, although you have mentioned and reiterated just earlier that I think this could apply to other public transport.
Yes, other transport.
Yes. What
By
responsibility?
the way, Mama, if I may,
Sure.
the latest that we received from complaints, LCSP received complaints about buses. These are buses operated by bus companies that they overcharge also passengers. So this is not overcharging only as one passenger, but all the passengers taking that bus. So may mga ganun din.
Yes.
And LTFRB is now investigating that. So it's really overcharging is true. not only in taxis but in any other transport denomination.
Mm. Now, speaking of that, what responsibilities do operators, do public transport operators have in ensuring their drivers follow fair regulations?
Okay. Uh, the operators really have to remind their drivers about the penalties in overcharging, conductor passenger, etc. Okay. If you talk to a lot of operators, they will tell you, no, talagang pinapaalala namin. We tell our drivers, this, we have a uh, karatula that when they go to the garage, nandun nakalagay what are to be followed, what are to be avoided, etc. So, the operator would not want his franchise to be suspended or revoked. No? They don't want that. They will lose business, especially now. The transport business is really uh, near bankruptcy, so to speak. No?
Mm.
So ayaw nila yan. They don't want that. So they can remind, they can tell their drivers, but when it is already on the ground, they cannot monitor them. No, they cannot monitor their drivers. It is different when the operator is the driver itself. So there are taxi drivers who are also the owner of the unit. Then uh, we can say that it is easily monitored because he's this driver or the brother or the son or a relative. But those which have fleet units, no, in other words, they are operating a fleet of taxi units. They could not, no, they could not really monitor each. So that's the problem of the operator. Now, the operator is given due process. That's why when LTFRB issues the show cause order, they are directed to appear before the board to explain, ginawa niyo ba to? Did you really reminded your drivers, no? What are those, let's say, steps that you did to safeguard the passengers, no, and prevent overcharging and contracting passengers, ganon. So they're given the the opportunity to defend themselves.
Mm-mm. And now that given that this incident involved a foreign celebrity and gained international attention, just before I let you go, Attorney Inton, what should authorities do? I think we're just interrupted again. We would just get Attorney Inton's final message because this is very important, especially to our commuters, whether the locals here and also the foreign nationals. Yes, Attorney Inton, I will just repeat our question. Given that this incident involved a foreign celebrity, a K-pop idol to be exact, and gained international attention, before I let you go, what should authorities now do moving forward?
Well, the authorities, I read in a news item that I think the OTR will, in coordination with the PNP, will have a special task force to protect foreigners or tourists against these scrupulous drivers of public transport. And that's a good idea. It's like a tourist police, of course, parang ganon. But more than that, the LTO or LTFRB, DOTR, has to show that that taxi driver that victimized the K-pop idol will be meted the proper penalty after due process. Now, of course, we are not saying just because he is a K-pop idol, we have to give him special preference. No, it's not.
Mm.
It's just so happened that the incident caught media attention. But whether he is an K-pop idol, a foreigner, a local, an artist, a basketball player, whatever,
Mm.
no, it doesn't matter. As long as he is a passenger, he should be afforded due respect
Mm.
and given dignity. And to show respect and dignity to the passenger, then he should just pay the proper uh, and the right fare. What we say, fair fare.
Mm.
Yun. Now, uh, on the other side, we understand this in the midst of the crisis that they really want to at least uh, take home a bigger pay to their families. Passengers, no, we urge our passengers, no, from our group, from LCSP, kung hindi naman makakasakit, if we can really afford it kahit papano, then let's be considerate and give them the tip. And the taxi drivers, you don't need to demand. No? Uh, the passengers do understand your plight, especially now. We talk to a lot of passengers, then they say na it's alright as long as hindi naman ganon tagan-taga. No? We don't mind, we can give them extra.
Mm. And with that, thank you very much, Attorney Inton, for joining us here in the program.
Yes, anytime.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much.
Until next
I,
time, mabuhay po kayo.
yes, mabuhay po.
And we were just joined by LCSP President Attorney Ariel Inton in regards to the overcharging, the taxi overcharging incident in Cebu involving K-pop idol Choi Subin of TXT. When we come back, we will be joined by the Bureau of Internal Revenue or BIR as we talk about cross-border services. But for the meantime, here are some reminders from the station.
Mas pinadali na ang government transactions sa tulong ng eGovPH Super App. Pwedeng-pwede mo nang magawa ang lahat ng ito. I-download ang eGov app sa iyong smartphone o tablet mula sa App Store o Google Play Store. Pagkatapos, ilagay ang iyong mobile number at i-authenticate gamit ang one-time PIN o OTP para marehistro ang iyong account. Saka ilagay ang iyong mga pangunahing impormasyon at kumpletuhin ang facial recognition technology para sa verifikasyon ng iyong pagkakakilanlan. Para sa mas mabilis at mas maayos na serbisyong panggobyerno, gamitin na ang eGovPH Super App.
Front and center. Front and center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
We are now back here in the program Front and Center. This has been your host for today, Steph Vicente. And joining us right now via Zoom is Deputy Commissioner Larry Barcelo of the Bureau of Internal Revenue or BIR Legal Group to talk about cross-border services. Deputy Commissioner Barcelo, welcome to Front and Center. This is Steph Vicente again of Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Good morning, Steph. Thank you for having me here in your show.
Thank you very much, Deputy Commissioner Barcelo, for joining us, for giving us time to discuss cross-border services. Now, for the first question, can you explain in simple terms, of course, for the information of our listeners, what Revenue Memorandum Circular Number 024-2026 is all about and why it was issued?
Step RMC or Revenue Memorandum Circular Number 2426 was issued by our commissioner to clarify the application of the earlier issuances on tax treatment of cross-border services. It was issued because there have been concerns in certain instances about the tax assessment of cross-border services not being undertaken beyond the contemplation or in a manner inconsistent with the framework set forth under the earlier issuances. So there's a need to clarify the application of these early issuances to align with statutory and jurisprudential standards and provide certainty, no, certainty to both revenue officers and taxpayers.
Mm. And now, just also, since some of our listeners might not be familiar with this one, how does the ACES Philippines Cellular Satellite Corporation versus Commissioner of Internal Revenue ruling influence this new circular?
The ruling of the Supreme Court in ACES Philippines provides treatment on the income taxation of cross-border services rendered or supplied in the Philippines by non-resident foreign supplier. In that case, the Supreme Court emphasized the basic rule, no, that in determining the source of income, there must be an activity, service, or property activity or service that produces the income. That income originates in the Philippines, and therefore it should be taxed in the Philippines. That is the uh, jurisprudence, no, the ruling of the Supreme Court in ACES Philippines, and this was followed and implemented by the BIR to the issuance of Revenue Memorandum Circulars number 5-2024 and followed by RMC number 38-2024, and the latest issuance is RMC 24-2026.
Mm.
Thank you.
Now, the circular says income is generally taxed where the service is performed. How will this apply in real life business situations?
That is the traditional rule insofar as the uh, situs of taxation of service, no, it should be where the service is performed. That is under the tax code, and it only means that for personal or labor services, for the payment for such service to be taxable in the Philippines, the service must be performed here in the Philippines. For instance, if you want to a contractor to build a or to produce a certain, for instance, appliances or furnitures in for your benefit, then it should be for payment for that to be taxable should be the service should be done within the Philippines. So that's essentially the concept of this service taxable if it is a service is performed in the Philippines. But well, in this ruling of the court in ACES Philippines, no, there's a interpretation that especially on services of cross-border, there must be an activity or service or property that produces the income within the Philippines.
All right. Now, what factors will the BIR consider in determining whether cross-border service income is taxable here in the
In,
Philippines?
Thank you for that question. Again, the basic consideration is to be taxable in the Philippines, there must be or the service must produce income or the economic activity that produces the income happened, no, or occurred took place in the Philippines to be taxable in the Philippines. There are factors to be considered. For instance, the payment should be made only as soon once the services is consumed in the Philippines, then that will be an essential factor to be considered as taxable in the Philippines. There are also instances where the properties are situated in the Philippines and the services will not be completed unless that property are form part of that services, essential forming part of the services. So there are many factors to be considered. That's why in the case of ACES Philippines, the Supreme Court clarified that in examining the cross-border services, we should examine it or evaluate it as a whole, no? The services as a whole, and not single out or compartmentalize a single activity as the producing activity, income activity.
Mm. Um, Deputy Commissioner Barcelo, maybe some of our listeners and viewers might have common misconceptions. What are some common misconceptions among taxpayers when it comes to cross-border taxation?
Among the common misconception probably are the misconception that if it is a cross-border services, payment payment po such services are not taxable in the Philippines, no? Again, that is a common misconception because when we apply the rule, no, for income taxation of non-residents, we always follow the rule that there must be an activity, property of service that produces the income in the Philippines to be taxable. So in other words, the fact that the service is a cross-border does not necessarily mean that it is not taxable, no? In the same manner, it does not necessarily follow also that it is immediately taxable or automatically taxable in the Philippines. Again, each case must be taken separately and evaluated, and there must be a factual basis for saying that it is taxable or not taxable in the Philippines.
Now, what documents should businesses prepare to prove that services were performed outside the country?
The latest issuance of the BIR, the RMC 24-2026 enumerated some documents, important documents where the cross-border services should not be taxed in the Philippines. This should be presented by the non-resident. This should be presented by the taxpayers in the Philippines claiming that these are not taxable in the Philippines. Among the documents are a sworn statement executed by the individual payer that as to the transactions, the relevant circumstances, and the nature and description of the service, the copies of the relevant service contracts or service agreement, the tax residency certificate issued by the tax authority of the non-service provider, the SEC certification of non-registration of the non-resident foreign corporation, and other documents which they which are relevant to prove that the subject income is not from sources within the Philippines. So that's the documents that they can present, to the Philippine authority, tax authority, to prove that the income payment from such cross-border services are not sourced within the Philippines.
Um, the circular mentions that a prior BIR ruling is no longer required. How will this impact taxpayers and compliance processes?
Yeah, this treatment provided by the BIR on the cross-border services will be applied, no? Even if the taxpayer does not uh, request or obtain a BIR ruling from the BIR. But again, the BIR ruling will be helpful, of course, to ascertain at the very instance the tax treatment of the transaction. Parang ano siya, parang identify mo na agad sa BIR na these transactions are not subject to Philippine income tax. No? That's the benefit of BIR ruling. But even if there's no BIR ruling, the tax treatment as provided in this revenue issuance will be applied, no, by the BIR, meaning for every evaluation or for every assessment that the cross-border service payment is taxable, there must be a corresponding factual basis, no, and legal basis for such conclusion.
As much as we would like to extend our discussion, but we are running out of material time. Deputy Commissioner Barcelo, what is now your final message for businesses and freelancers engaged in cross-border services following the clarification made by the BIR? Go ahead.
Thank you. With this issuance of the Revenue Memorandum Circular 24-2026, the BIR expects that the affected taxpayers will now be guided, will now be clarified with the tax treatment of cross-border services, and also our revenue officers will now be also definite, no, on their actions to be taken in case they are confronted with this issue. Uh, they are mandated by this Revenue Memorandum Circular to provide, to examine the case and provide clear factual basis for concluding that the income payments for services are taxable in the Philippines. On the part of the freelancer, businesses engaged in cross-border, this circular will provide them clarity in a sense that the documents are identified here where they can show that the income payments should not be taxed in the Philippines because it is entirely derived from sources outside the Philippines. So as I earlier mentioned, I identified some of these important documents. And so this will benefit both the businesses and the tax examiners, tax authorities as well, no, with this issuance of Revenue Memorandum Circular 24-2026. Thank you.
And with that, thank you very much again, Deputy Commissioner Barcelo, for joining us. Until next time, mabuhay po kayo.
Welcome, Steph. Mabuhay. Thank you.
And we were just joined by Deputy Commissioner Larry Barcelo of the Bureau of Internal Revenue, or BIR Legal Group. At this point, we'll be ending today's edition of Front and Center. We would like to thank first our technical team here, composed of Milo Jonella, Susan Aison, Hiro Lucero, and Justine Osias, who made this program possible. Thank you as well to our station manager, Mr. Ray Sampang. And before we end this program, I think we should greet someone a happy birthday. Of course, happy birthday to the main host of Front and Center, Jerome Toledo. We wish you always the best, and may God bless you always. This has been your host for today, Steph Vicente. Good day and stay safe, everyone.
You have just heard and watched Front and Center. Front and Center. Join us again for another edition here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Front and Center.